What's happening, everyone? My name's Genshin Gamebie, and welcome to my first ever Nerd Out, where I talk about all things Genshin, including the lore, the characters, enemies, and the ever-expansive story that is Genshin Impact. A short disclaimer before we start, this channel is something I want to stay true to. What I mean by this is that I don't want to grab onto the Genshin hype by doing pretentious videos about who's S tier or who's Z tier, or just spend thousands of dollars on gacha rolls and then stream that and hope you guys get a good reaction out of me. No, that is not what I want to do. What I do want to do is I want to put out content that's meaningful and that makes me happy and makes you guys even happier. I plan to, do a little bit of gameplay videos on the side because the story keeps evolving every 6 weeks or so. There's something new that, contributes to the story, whether it be the new Lantern Festival that's coming up in Liyue, or even the other festival that currently escapes the name that's gonna happen in Mondstadt. Other than that, we have Inazuma coming up, we have stuff like Fontaine, Snezhnaya. We got all these sorts of regions, so I'll definitely cover gameplay on those, but what I want to do most of all is stay true to the lore of Genshin, because as soon as I started playing this game, I was sucked into the lore. The lore is absolutely some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. For a gacha game, miHoYo has really pulled all the stops in making sure we get a good experience, and if we do want to choose, we can try to find out more about certain characters, really feel the love, the hate that some certain characters feel towards others, or really just be a sassy know-it-all and call our buddy Paimon emergency food. So that's what I want to explore. I hope you guys are having a good morning, a good evening, or a good night depending on where you are. And without further ado, let's address the elephant in the room, or much rather the alien in an unknown world, known as our MC. From what we can gather, when we start playing Genshin, we've been separated by our sibling by an unknown god who goes by the name of the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles. She claims that the era of mankind is over, and then proceeds to kamikaze whoever you choose into oblivion while taking your sibling. So if you choose Aether, she's gonna take away Lumen. If you choose Lumen, she's gonna take away Aether. So you could choose either of them. From there, we cut to Paimon thanking the MC for rescuing her from drowning, and the boat set off for the closest city in their vicinity, which is Mondstadt. Now, the weirdest part in this whole conundrum so far is that Paimon was drowning even though she can quote-unquote fly or float, whichever floats your boat. But that's something I'll probably explore in another day, since we're kind of trying to focus on either Aether or Lumen depending on who you choose. As you explore the land of Teyvat, which so far includes only Mondstadt and Liyue, the game starts to reveal interesting tidbits and pose more questions than answers as to who the heck are you, what kind of being are you, a god, a human with supernatural powers, are you Aang, are you Korra? But no, seriously, this game can be quite confusing when you're trying to put in the pieces so far. Which is why I'm here. Let's start by analyzing the character screen for the MC. It doesn't matter who you choose because besides a few gender-based changes, the dialogue stays relatively the same. After going through these, because I'm now AR40 plus and utterly bored out of my mind, we can put in place some pieces of the puzzles, that is the MC. For example, when Paimon brings up the topic of windmills, this is what MC has to say all about it.
Mondstadt has so many windmills, doesn't it?
Well, the city is built above water, so it probably relies on windmills to draw the water upwards.
That's correct! The winds blow through Mondstadt all year, so this supply of water is very stable.
So we know that the siblings had a basic understanding of mechanisms such as windmills. On the surface, this may seem like a super trivial matter like, obviously, Gamebie, you stupid, she's human, of course they know stuff like this. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, I want to try to flesh out this character as much as possible, so just give me just a few minutes of your time, s'il vous plaît. The siblings have a basic understanding of how mechanisms like windmills work, so that the fact that they've traveled worlds means that worlds exist with similar mechanisms or even more advanced and sophisticated machinery. Now, why did I bring up the topic of sophisticated machinery, you ask? See, MC knows what should be basic architectural lingo, but it seems that it's not something known to this world particularly, or at least not to Paimon. When they talk about the terrain of Mondstadt, this is how the conversation goes down.
Mondstadt is full of wide plains and rolling hills. People say that when Barbados made this land, he used the storm to flatten the cliffs and valleys.
Still, it looks like he missed a few spots.
Like Star Snatch Cliff?
Exactly. On the map, it almost looks as if it was meant to be the apex of a vertical structure, but ended up at the wrong orientation.
What's an apex?
Even Paimon, who seems to know all about Teyvat, was very confused when the MC mentions the word apex. It strikes a little bit of curiosity in me. What kind of worlds has our MC visited? Wherever they may have been, they definitely have encountered a civilization that has advanced much more than what I've seen in Teyvat. The only region with any sort of access to such sophisticated technology that I can think of off the top of my head is Snezhnaya. But, says Naya, we're going to reserve that region for another video. What if the MC helms from a world very similar to ours? We live in a world dominated by pop culture, and one of the many aspects of it is K-pop. Now, I'm not super well versed in the area that is K-pop, but idols do exist, right? Like a certain artist you might be interested in, such as, I don't know, Baekhyun, RM, Mark, Kim Jong-un. Everyone has an artist they look up to, or more aptly, idolize. When speaking about Barbara, Paimon's confused as to what an idol is. Interestingly, MC seems to know sufficient amount of information to describe what an idol is.
Barbara's really popular, isn't she?
Well, she is the idol of the people of Mondstadt.
Come to think of it, Paimon doesn't really know what an idol is.
It's an occupation in which one's work is to be cute, be well-loved, and earn a boatload of mora.
Isn't that the same thing as being a mascot?
That's one way to put it.
Now, sure, you could try to chalk this up to the fact that the MC has been here long enough that they understand what an idol is, but in that case, so should Paimon. And Paimon seems to have been here longer. At least that's what it seems for now. This is another cool little tidbit I found for MC. Maybe some of the worlds they encountered had K-pop stars. Maybe, just maybe, Jungkook is confirmed for Genshin Impact. Start saving your premium gems, guys. Oh my god, Jungkook banner's coming in 2023, baby! Let's move on from the character voice lines for a bit and take a gander at the little bit of story we've uncovered from the MC's character page. Here's something super confusing that I haven't really wrapped my head around, but, you know, if you guys seem to get it, please leave it in the comments below. In the character details tab, it reads, "The Keeper is fading away. The Creator has not yet come, but for the world shall burn no more, for you shall ascend." Now look, this sounds like something straight out of the Bible, something biblical. So if y'all could possibly shed some insight as to what this could possibly mean, that'd be so splendid. Moving on to stuff that I do have a firmer grasp on, we can pretty much confirm a loose timeline as to what happened after you encounter the unknown god. In story 1 of MC, it reads, "A boy and a girl stood amidst the tumult, under an unfamiliar sky. You were a pair of traveling twins, passing through the countless worlds during your journey. Descending upon a continent named Teyvat, you hoped that you would be able to enjoy your time here. But as you awoke among the falling stars, you saw the world in turmoil, a cataclysm raging across the land. You sought to leave this place and move on to the next world, but then an unknown god stood before you, barring the way. This deity was spotless, floating over a world of chaos, looking down on you. The god took your only kin away, and you were sealed and cast into a deep slumber filled with nightmares. When you reawakened, the world was changed. The flames of war raged no longer, and nothing was left that looked familiar. How long had you been asleep? You had no answers. Thus, you began a lonely journey, seeking the deity that you had once laid eyes upon." Bit of a long read, understandably, but these events allude to one of the videos by the official channel of Genshin Impact titled, "We Will Be Reunited." If you haven't watched that video, I'd highly recommend giving it a watch before continuing this video. Now, I assume you've watched the video or have seen it before, so I'm going to continue with this topic. It's very evident that quite some time has passed since you encountered the unknown god, specifically 500 years. Now, why 500 years? Well, I'll go more in depth for that in another video, but what you need to know is that a great calamity had befallen a region known as Canria? This kingdom, 500 years ago, which was known as the ultimate injustice. In the video, we can see that the sibling that you didn't choose has most likely experienced this quote-unquote ultimate injustice, and it seems to have wrecked with their mind. Although that may not be the case, that's up in the air for now, but my personal thought is that this quote-unquote injustice, after having learned of it, is why the sibling has turned so cold and why the Abyss's Order's ruined guard is carrying her so peacefully. This, and a scene shown towards the end of the prologue chapter, shows that the sibling is leading the Abyss Order. And the Abyss Order is known for being enemies of, well, everything on the surface. You even find out that the MCU chose barely missed catching a glimpse of their sibling right as you defeat Dvalin. As I quote, "There was something then that you did not see, for as the dragon fell to the abyss, a certain figure had been reflected in its eyes. The one who rules the abyss. He or she had once traveled with you, and you had once crossed many worlds together." Yeah, looks to be like some real cryptic messaging, but it's pretty goddamn obvious with the last sentence that this indeed is talking about your sibling, whether it be Lumine or either. What this leads me to believe is that the character you choose had been in a slumber brimming with nightmares, and that you had slept for 500 years, while your sibling, for a lack of a better term, wasn't given that same privilege, and instead was forced to watch the horrors of the ultimate injustice take place right before their very eyes. This had turned them cold, almost like a machine, with one goal in mind, only one goal. Whatever that goal may be, I hope to find out as the world of Genshin Impact expands. Since I chose Lumine, I'll probably meet either when I've graduated, got married, and have kids. But you know what? That's what I love about this game. It's so full of potential. And I'm so excited to share this journey with you guys. Until my next video, I hope you'll stay for the ride because I'm already buckled up and ready to take off. On a side note, I'm sure you've all noticed that I barely covered, well, literally anything. Hell, I've only talked about voice lines and story content about the MC that you can find just by clicking on the character tab and going to About This Character, or the equivalent. But don't worry, as I expand on other characters and regions, I'll definitely try to cram in as much lore as my tiny little head can take. Till next time, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, hit a bit of a like if you want, leave a comment if you want to add anything, if you'd like to suggest any sort of information that I may have missed, because I am so looking forward to engaging in this nerd session with you guys. Until next time, I will see you guys in Teyvat.